You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
You're listening to the Pelicans postgame report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
That's right. Welcome to the Pelican postgame report on the PRO Media Network. I'm your host, Big Q, bringing us in. And via Skype, we have DC joining us tonight on the Pelican postgame report. How you doing, DC?
I'm good, man. Upbeat. Look like we starting to see some of the light at the end of the tunnel.
I wouldn't speak so soon, but they did beat the Brooklyn Nets tonight. Well, I'm not gonna. We're gonna speak too soon. I ain't gonna be too premature. I'm trying to learn not to do that when we're dealing with the New Orleans Pelicans, to say to give a big example. But anyway, we like to thank all of the people across the sports fandom and the sports culmination for joining us today and supporting our show. This round of applause is dedicated to you and all those people that donated and support and share and joined our social media families and helped build our platform. We are at show 148 on this Saturday, February the 10th, 2018. Special podcast. I guess you could say special. They're not really that special. But anyway, in this particular show, 148, we'll be recapping the Pelicans' win over the Brooklyn Nets tonight at 138 to 128 in the double overtime. Very, very exciting game. Well, they were beaten them by 30, but we'll get more into it. We'll also recap the hideous 18-point defeathering that the Phildelphia 76ers did to them back on Friday night, last night. And we'll cover them games with stats, facts, breakdowns, and interviews. Of course, Gentry will chime in. Rajon Rondo, Nikola Mirotic will chime in and with post-game sentiments. Also, on the Pelican post-game report, more topics that'll come up. We'll be previewing. Actually, we'll be giving you some Pelican transaction news, as the Pelicans did release 2 players. We'll tell you who they are and what impact those releases will have upon the team. We'll also give you our input on who we think will be good fits for the Pelicans moving forward as they get closer to the All-Star break. Then in the second segment of the show, this is a 40-minute podcast. In the second segment of the show, we'll, preview the Pelicans versus the Pistons. That'll be up Monday night. Big game right there. The Pelicans have 2 remaining games before the All-Star break, and we'll cover one of them, the Detroit Pistons. We'll preview that game at the end of the podcast, second segment, that is. So without further ado, let's get right on to it. Tonight, the Pelicans faced off against the Brooklyn Nets. We'll start with that game first. The Pelicans did build a lead as big as 30 points at one time and slowly watched it chip away. And once again, it wasn't the third quarter where the Pelicans collapsed. They actually had a pretty decent third quarter. They scored 28 points while Brooklyn scored just 33. But it was the collapse in the fourth quarter by aided by turnovers and missed free throws that ultimately made this game overtime. The Pelicans just kept missing free throw after free throw after free throw after free throw in this mess leading into overtime. And DC, I'm saying to myself, you're beating this team by 30. All of a sudden They get hot. If you just hit your free throws, you would have quelled this team. You would have knocked them off. Now, what I mean by that, I've been beating this like a dead horse all season long.
There you have, man.
And the Pelicans, like a dead horse. The Pelicans, let's look at the free throw numbers, DC. The Pelicans were 25 of 39. They had 39 attempts. The referees gave the Pelicans almost 40 chances at the free throw line, and the Pelicans made 25 of 39 for 64%. Now, granted, all the Pelicans had to do was hit one more free throw in regulation to keep this game out of place. They did not. While guess why? The Brooklyn Nets, the 19 and 38 Brooklyn Net club, was 21 of 22 from the free throw line. So as bad as they are, they still were able to get up 95% and finished 95% of the free throws. The Pelicans did keep the turnovers down, 15 turnovers, but like in traditional Pelican fashion, they give up less turnovers than the Brooklyn Nets did, but gave up 22 points off of 15 turnovers versus Brooklyn's 17 for 14. Not only that, but most of those 138 points, almost half of those points came from the paint battle, where the Pelicans decimated them, 70-38 in the paint, and that went into overtime, of course. But ultimately, you combine both OT quarters, the Pelicans were able to win 22-12 in both quarters, ultimately taking the game 138-128. DC, give me your take on this game tonight before we hear a little bit from L. Gentry.
You ever hear that song from Fantasia?
Which one?
Bittersweet.
That's what kind of win this is, a bittersweet win?
Bittersweet.
Wow.
It can go 50-50.
Ain't no such thing as a bad one according to L. Gentry. I've been in the league. I've been coaching for 30 years in the league, and there's no such thing as a bad. Well, there you go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it's all on how you look at it. I'm definitely glad they won this game. But looking at the game after the first half, man, I mean, it's a trend with us, bro. Like, we play amazing in the first half or the second quarter at least. You know, we're right in the game with some of the best teams, or we're leading by a decent, amount of points, and we just fall flat on our face from the third quarter to like in the beginning of the fourth quarter, maybe the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then we're always trying to hustle up and get back and get it together towards the end of the game, man. It's a trend, and it's amazing to me that it hasn't been corrected. For a team to keep having problems, that's understandable what we're going through. But to keep having the same exact problem over and over again, over the span of maybe 20, 25 games or so, it's inexcusable, man. And I mean, something needs to be done. But that's the negative side. On the light side of things, I like the fact that they stayed together, they stayed composed, and they went and fought it out with a tough little scrappy team that was trying to steal that victory away from them, man. And it says a lot about the players on this team that they didn't just give in and fold into what looked like it being inevitable, them losing after that team coming back from being down almost 30 points. It would have been the largest lead thrown away in franchise history. It would have been the largest collapse in the NBA this year if they would have lost that game. So shout out to them for bringing home, the victory and not folding under all that pressure.
Very good. Let's move into what Gentry got to say at the end of the post-game report. Here's Pelicans head coach Al.
I think it could have been easy for us to just kind of cave in when, we had the big lead and they came back. But, I was really proud of the guys hanging in there and keep fighting and find a way to win the game. At the end of the day, you either win or you lose. They don't say, you get extra points for being up 20 or whatever. So just the fact that we were able to play and continue to fight, even when the game was tied, even when we got behind, and find a way to win the game. To me, that was the most important thing.
Coach, are there things you didn't like about the way the game ended up or the way it was played out?
Well, I think the only thing we did is that we got a little cautious when we got up. We stopped running, we stopped pushing the basketball, stopped attacking, and tried to play too conservative, I thought. Our whole deal is that we've decided that we're going to be a team that attacks the basket, that pushes the basketball, that gets in the open floor. Thought we did a good job with that the first half, even in the third quarter. And then I thought we started to play a little bit cautious, when we were up. I don't know what we were up, but we started to walk the ball, play a little bit cautious and things like that. But in the end, I thought we did a great job defensively, found a way to come back and win the game. I thought that, AD and Mirotic was really good in screen and roll. I thought that they did a good job on the switches of keeping the guards in front of them. And even when they drove to the basket, they made it really hard for them to finish. And I thought that was it. We knew that they were going to continue to shoot threes, and they got on a little bit of a roll there and made 4 or 5 in a row. But for us, the bottom line is that when we needed the stops the most, we came up with them. And at the end of the day, they shot 37%, so our defense was pretty doggone good.
You mentioned the fight that your team had to show. What did you think of Mirotic? You mentioned Mirotic a little bit, but just
I thought he did a tremendous job. When we needed those rebounds at the end of the game, he came up with them. That's tough playing. He and AD played 49 minutes. That's a lot of minutes, especially switching out on guards and guarding them the whole time. But, I thought Mirotic did a great job. Had some good passes, 5 block shots, and then double-figure rebounds. So, that's a day's work right there.
What did you expect when it first arrived with you guys? And after a few games, what is your take on the way he has been able to contribute?
Oh, I think he's going to be fine. What we have to do now is that we have to incorporate him into our offense. We hadn't had really a lot of times where we can put things in that's going to benefit him. So he's really just kind of playing on instinct right now and doing a great job with it. But, we'll have time in the next few days to.
Okay, that's Coach Gentry talking about the game, and as you
also
can
put
tell,
some things in that's going
of
to
course, giving props to his player, Nikola Mirotic, Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, Rajon Rondo, who had his 31st, I believe, triple-double of his career. I seen a stat on television putting him 4th of active players behind some pretty good people like James Harden, LeBron James, and then 95, I think, triple-doubles by Russell Westbrook, who's the triple-double king. This guy averages triple-doubles for a season. It's nothing to him. Anyway, the Pelicans were able to get it done in not convincing fashion, but they crawled to a win here. They was beating this team by as much. I said 30. I think it was 28. But anyway, 28-30. Shit, they had them in a position where they should have squashed this team like a bug, but they allowed them to get hot. They came back and made a game of it. The Pelicans shot 49% on the game. Brooklyn, 38%. Brooklyn just came alive on the three-point line, and they shot just 50. They shot 59 three-pointers. They hit 21 of them. They went on a barrage on the Pelicans and almost stole this game. And I dare say that if the Pelicans would have lost this game, Gentry, you could possibly be looking for another job tonight. I would dare say, me and my father talked about it when we watched the game. DCU called me and right. Agreed to it too. That you get after an 18-point blowout defeathering, as I call it.
He lost this game. It'd have been curtains, man. It should be curtains.
It should be right. So this is some of the statistics running down that the Pelicans also there was a close battle, 59-60 on the boards. Assisted the Nets out assisted the Pelicans 30-23. Of course, the Pelicans less turnovers. They had 10 blocks on the game, 10 steals. 70 points in the paint was an excellent look is what I'm looking at. It was a pretty good look for them, is that they did their work in the paint. Anthony Davis was the top scorer of the game. He finished with 44 points, 17 rebounds. He had 6 steals and 3 blocks, of complete effort as AD took the team on his shoulders. Then behind him was Drew Holiday. Holiday had a very good 22 points, 5 assists, 7 rebound effort. Then you had the triple-double man, Rajon Rondo, 25 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds. Nikola Mirotic put in his best game as a Pelican to date. 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 blocks for Nikola Mirotic. And then, like I said, it was a pretty, even Etuan Motrou in his mangy 12 points, but it was good enough. Sheik Diallo, 8 points in 12 minutes, 7 rebounds for the Sheik. And that was pretty good. But, like I said, we watched this game. I got to give a lot of credit to Brooklyn. They didn't give up, down by 28, showed a lot of heart. If this team could somehow put some extra pieces with them, they might be a dangerous team down the line. As their top scorer was Alan Crabb. He had 28 points on the night, 24 from Dinwiddie. Hopefully we could steal that guy at some point next year. Dinwiddie, 24 points. And then 21 from D'Angelo Russell, who was the star of the team. Actually, I thought that the Pelicans would have lost the game if it wasn't for D'Angelo Russell having that backcourt mishap where the ball went over the backcourt line. He lost it, and I think that's what helped the Pelicans in many regards retain this win. That's what bad teams do. Bad teams do stupid things like that. But anyway, that is the outlook on the game. As the Pelicans were able to climb and break the 3-game slide. They are now 29-26, 15-14 away, and it does not appear to me at all that the Pelicans are comfortable on the road or at home. I mean, I can't tell you one way or the other. You know, they seem to do the same work either way because the records are basically identical. But anyway, we about to go into our first break. When we come back, we'll go into more stories. We'll finish up on this matchup with the Brooklyn Nets. We'll go into the matchup as the Pelicans face the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll recap that game. We'll also talk about the transaction wire news, and we'll preview the Pelicans and Pistons on the other side of the break. All that coming at you. Stay with us with the Pelican post-game report on the PRO Media Network.
Get all the latest news and updates from your New Orleans Pelicans at the Pelicans Eye View, the new and official Pelicans Daily Journal, covering everything Pelicans. Attention, everyone. Get breakdown on games, free agent signings and potential moves, unbiased opinions and straight up facts with statistical analysis from G Balance. Go to www.thesportsdaily.com/Pelicans-I-View.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is The Sports Coma with Big Q. The guy's intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out The Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
What's up, sports world? This Big Q from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Talking to you about the website, theposhlifestyle.com. That's right, poshlifestyle.com. A great website where you can get great products at great prices. They sell organic herbs, vitamins, supplements, water filters for your home, EMF and cell phone radiation protection, healing magnetics and healing crystals, personal protection devices like cell phones, stun guns, and mace sprays, organic deodorants, shampoos, soaps, toothpaste, and more. They also sell 10A grade Brazilian hair. 10A music is available now. All kind of the latest downloadable mixtapes. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the poshlifestyle.com. That's the Posh Lifestyle, life spelled with a Y, LYFE style.com. Put in the Sports Coma for the 10% discount on your purchase. It's a win-win. So get your mind and body right with the Posh Lifestyle.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
You're listening to the Pelicans postgame report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
That's right. Welcome back to the Pelican postgame report on the PRO Media Network. We just recapping the Nets, Brooklyn Nets and New Orleans Pelicans double overtime thrilling win as the Pelicans were up by 28, ultimately had lost the lead due to bad defense, turnovers, missed free throws, gave Brooklyn a chance to get back in the game with their hot shooting. They forced 2 overtime periods. The Pelicans were able to put it together as Brooklyn cooled off. I guess they were really tired. And then in that second overtime period, the Pelicans were able to put 10 points up on them, beating them in both overtime periods, 22-12, ultimately getting a 138-128 exciting Brooklyn win over the Brooklyn Nets. And before we peruse into our next, before we go into our next situation, we did have Rajon Rondo's interview.
We perusing again, huh?
Oh, we definitely gonna peruse. I thought we had Rajon Rondo's interview on, but we do not. His thrilling interview, we do not have that one. So anyway, that'll be the end of the Brooklyn Nets competition. Let's move on to the other matchup in which the Pelicans faced off against the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday. That was the first of the back-to-back combo that the Pelicans had to do on their 3-game road trip. We looking at that matchup as well with the Sixers, that they lost that game by 18 points. to me, that's like I mean, it was a crap fest from the start to finish. They were completely blown out, 32-14 in the opening quarter. They tried to rebound in the second quarter, not too much, and then they had that famous collapse in an 11-point third quarter, and they ultimately lost the game 18 points, 100-82. A very distasteful game. They were reeling in this game, totally outmatched by Philly. But, you know, before we get into breaking it down, let's listen to what Coach Al Gentry had to say about this loss.
We missed some easy shots, and I didn't think we started the game with the intensity level that we were going to have to be able to play against this team. And, you know, Embiid started off with a couple of threes, which, you know, okay, we can understand that one, but we just offensively didn't have any kind of flow or any kind of rhythm or anything, and just missed so many shots, and we got behind so far that when we actually, you know, started to play and do pretty good, it's too much to make up. You know, we got it to 9 at one stage, but, you know, we ended up having a couple of turnovers, and they scored a couple of baskets, and so it's 15 at the half. So, and then after halftime, we were never there. You know, they did a great job. They play extremely hard. I think Brett has done a great job with what they do offensively and the way they run their stuff and the way they come off screens. And then defensively, they disrupted whatever we tried to do most of the night.
When you get in a situation like this, just how tough is it to try to find any kind of a combination that works?
Well, that's just it, and we're still in the process of trying to figure out things anyway. So against a team like that, which I think is very good, they're a tough matchup. Obviously, with Ben as the point guard, it's a tough matchup. And B is going to be a tough matchup for anybody, but you know, Sark and those guys played exceptional. So you can't think that you can start off 20 behind and going to be able to play this team and get back in it. They're just too talented. You gotta fight to stay in the game early on, and then maybe their youth or, you know, something, you know, may come into play. But when you let them have a situation where they're that relaxed and they're playing it with that kind of ease, all it does is make them, you know, much better than what they really are anyway. And they're pretty doggone good.
When something like this happens, did you have an inkling of just the tennis kind of minor, or just kind of surprised by it as everybody else?
No, I think they're capable of doing. I mean,
don't think about your team. Did they have it that way?
No, we didn't start the game with the kind of energy and the intensity that we need to. You know, they were into us defensively. We got to do a much better job of freeing guys up on screens, and we got to do a much better job of protecting the ball. We can't turn the ball over, especially against this team, and have them run out with Ben in the middle of the floor handling the basketball. Nothing but bad things can happen when that's the case.
Do you think you'll keep Liggins in the starting lineup, or will you go back to Rondo?
I don't know. That's something that I got to think about tonight.
That's Coach Al Gentry breaking down the game. Looking at this game, Philly shot 41%, 39 of 93 from the field, 41%, 14 of 34 from three-point range. They held New Orleans to just 34%, 38.5%, might as well say, 33 of 95 from the floor, and 26% from the three-point range. New Orleans was held to 82 points. That's the lowest total in a game this season. So Philly, not only did they embarrass New Orleans by beating them, but they held them to the lowest point total that they had, period. Not to mention the fact that Joel Embiid had 24, Dario Saric had 24, J.J. Redick had 15, Ben Simmons had 10. He combined for 73 of the Philadelphia. Those guys all combined for 73 of Philadelphia's 100 points. Philly jumped out on the Pelicans to a 26-6 lead early, and led to a 32-14 lead at the end of the first quarter. New Orleans shot 5 of 12, which is just 23% from the floor in the period. Sixers Joel Embiid scored 16 of his 24 points in the first period. New Orleans started the second quarter on a 25-16 run, which was 48-39, but Philadelphia closed it out with an 8-2 run and held a 56-41 halftime lead. Philly started the third quarter on an 8-2 run, taking a 21-point lead, 64-43, and never looking back. Philadelphia outscored New Orleans 28-11 in the third and held a 32-point advantage, 84-52 lead at the end of the quarter. With Philadelphia's win, New Orleans and Philadelphia has split the season series 1-1. So there you have it. DC, what are your thoughts on this game, the loss that they had to Philadelphia? What are your thoughts on that? Then we'll play Nikola Mirotic's post-game interview.
Basically, we went on the playground and we saw this big kid. We older now. We saw this big kid and we challenged them to a game and they kicked our behind, man. We thought we could go in there and do it, and we just didn't show up, man. I mean, the Pelicans, it's probably the worst they looked the whole season. This is pretty much the worst game I've seen them play all year. So I would have to kind of, then with all what's going on with DeMarcus Cousins, we got Mirotic. You still had Dante Cunningham, who was complaining about his minutes and stuff, and they traded him, but I think he was still around, not sure. Just had a lot going on, man. I have to chalk it up to an anomaly. They ain't getting no pass by any stretch of the imagination. There's completely horrible play. I mean, the leader in points was Ian Clark. Like that. I mean, that just says it right there, man. What were we doing? You know. I think the game being canceled in Indiana obviously threw them off, and we're in New Orleans out here. They got a lot of parades going on, a lot of partying going on. Maybe they decided to indulge a little bit that night before they went to Philly. I mean, that makes some sense to me for something like that, because other than that, I just don't understand how this team could have played that horribly, man. I mean, we're horrible in the third quarter, but we put up 11 points in the third quarter. Like, are you serious?
That don't appear to be any different than most quarters that they've played. They've had some pretty stinky third quarters that have contributed to some very bad losses. So I would have to
but not after
that
you put up 14 in the first quarter.
Right, but like I said, they just didn't have that glow. If you remember the last,
I can't even give Philly a lot of credit. Like, I didn't see anything they were doing that looked like it rattled them like that.
They were flat.
They defeated themselves before they ever played.
The Pelicans came out super flat. L. Gentry said that they had got off to a bad. Once they realized they couldn't build themselves back past the lead, Anthony Davis was the trigger. Anthony Davis didn't bring it. I think he finished the game, 14, 15 points? I mean, he can't do that. Anthony Davis is going to have to play like a superstar every night for this team to have an opportunity, because you can't count on Drew Holiday to do it every night. Drew will come in and he'll give you some 25, 28 games, but he's comfortable right around that 16, 17-point beacon. AD, like he did tonight, if Anthony Davis didn't put up 40-something points, would they have beaten the Brooklyn Nets? No.
Hell no.
So he has to play that level, and that's a shame, but that's what it is about it. That's what it takes to be a superstar. You want to be a superstar and an all-star and all those great accolades, this is what you're going to have to do when your other superstar teammate goes down. You're going to have to carry the weight. That would be the same thing if Anthony Davis had went down, that we'll be asking for DeMarcus Cousins, is that he would have to carry that weight as well. But here's Nikola Mirotic, his feed on the game.
Set the tone in the first few minutes of the game. I mean, did you feel like they had a big edge in energy, it seemed like, from the start?
Yeah, they played, especially in the beginning, really good. I think they kind of set a tone in the beginning. We were missing a lot of shots, a lot of good looks, and they did get that lead really fast, almost by 20 points in the beginning. So at some point in the second quarter, we get back. We cut that lead by 8, but they made a run on us again, and once again, we didn't have that, I think, energy we should play in the third quarter, and we just gave the game. But I'm sure we're gonna bounce back. We have the good thing about this. We had another game tomorrow, and today was not our day. I think on both sides, offensively, defensively, I think the second unit did a great job last 10 minutes. So, and that's the way how we should play.
You mentioned how
Nikola Mirotic, it just wasn't our day. That's as clear as you can get when you talk about Nikolai. Nikolai telling the truth. Wasn't their day, and that obviously showed. But let's move forward after that game. Let's move into some talk. DC, we're looking at some of the Pelicans transaction. Of course, the Pelicans have reported today that the Pelicans released 2 players off the roster. One of them, I guess you can say, wasn't officially a Pelican. After the trade, the Pelicans sent ineffective garbage time player Dante Cunningham to the Brooklyn Nets for Rashad Vaughn, who himself was traded from Milwaukee to Brooklyn just days before that trade with the New Orleans. And ultimately, New Orleans just took the guy and they just released him. They just waived the guy for the money. So I guess they'll have about $400K that they can work with to sign some other guys that can help. And also Mike James, who was disgruntled. A report came out from the Bird's Eye View, I think it was, website, and some other sources that indicated that he was disgruntled and wanted to be released. And of course, the Pelicans, they do oblige. They released both Mike James and they released Rashad Vaughn.
I don't think that's a good idea to release both of them. I mean, if you look at the game that was tonight, Rondo had an issue with his shoulder. They say it was a stinger. He actually said it wasn't, it was actually his neck. That's what he said after the game. But let's say Rondo would have got hurt, man. Now you got Ian Clark, which is your only backup point guard basically right now, starting. And Ian Clark is a pretty good option as far as scoring and three-pointers. I like his game. But he's not a facilitator at all. Then you put Drew Holiday back in a position where he clearly isn't comfortable. So I think maybe we should have kept Mike James. From what I was told, he wanted to leave, and I guess I could understand it. This guy was starting for the Phoenix Suns, and they kind of got rid of him, and he comes over here and he doesn't even get any minutes, and he only had a 10-day contract. So, yeah, let me go. But what are we going to do at point guard now? So now I guess we're going to go back on the market and look for a point guard and another center possibly.
Which is the perfect segue for the next topic we're going to talk about. Is we're going to give our inputs on what the Pelicans could be looking at. And we got to move this segment along pretty fast because we got to preview the Pistons matchup. Let's get into it. Me and you went over a list of Pelicans potentials. We knew that Rashad Vaughn, we mentioned on the previous podcast, that was a possibility that they would just release Rashad Vaughn just to keep the money to go after a veteran person, a short-term option. That's what they did. Mike James, we knew that he was disgruntled because he hadn't gotten any opportunities down here. Now let's look at it. We knew the Pelicans didn't need another guard, so to speak, if we were going to keep Mike James. Now they possibly could. There are guys on the buyout market. Tell me one guy who you like that the Pelicans should get, and I'll give you my guy after you do.
Say if I say one guy on the buyout market, I think the guy I really would have liked to get, I was a little disappointed. He went to the Houston Rockets. I wanted them to get Joe Johnson really bad.
He could have helped.
I think a guy like that would have showed up a lot of holes on our team offensively with the bench.
And defense.
Other than that, I would say maybe a guy like, I think he's already bought out if I'm not mistaken, Anderson Varejao, former Cleveland Cavalier, Warrior. I think that's a scrappy guy. Could come in there, play pretty good defense. That's what we're missing from maybe the second option off the bench and get those tough balls and rebounds. And I think he would be a good example of somebody for Sheik Diallo to kind of take his game to another level, being that hustle energy guy that every team needs.
I think a lot of the that's very viable. I think the Pelicans need to look at, they got multiple spots. They don't have a lot of money, but they could probably get some cheap players to come in, so to speak, inexpensive players. I think that the Pelicans,
you said 2 players?
They got a couple of spots open. They could bring in a few people, but the one guy that I would look at
Derrick Rose too, if he wasn't going to mention him. I don't know about
that one because I think he might want to go somewhere else. But we're looking at what they could do in terms of finding somebody. I think the Pelicans need to find a big some kind of way now. They didn't get it in the trade market. I was hoping that they try to make a deal for maybe Kyle O'Quinn, maybe a guy like Dwayne Dedman, somebody you can bring in that can start for you at the 5 position and allow Anthony Davis to slide back to 4. They got some people out there. There's Festus Ezeli out there. There's Andrew Bogut. There's Arison Varejao. There's a few of those guys out there. I wonder if the Pelicans, Dale Demps is actually looking at that so you can spare Anthony Davis a playing at 5 position. Let a big be in there. Festus Ezeli, we just need him for 30 games and perhaps a playoff run. That's my guy. I would throw at you, Andrew Bogut. Anyone up, get a damn big and put him in there so Anthony Davis doesn't have to play the 5 every damn night. That's all I'm saying. Anyway,
then you actually could have a very interesting lineup with maybe Rondo, Drew Holiday, and people don't
move
think
Mirotic
about
off
it,
the
but
bench.
you can actually put Mirotic at small forward.
Yeah, that's true too. That'll
time
be
to
awesome
time.
too.
He's played small forward in Chicago. He's just quick enough to be able to guard most small forwards, except
Perhaps
the
that doesn't look
extremely
good for
athletic
Solomon
ones,
Hill,
of
though.
course.
And
I think that would be a
look
good lineup, man.
Let's move forward on this Pistons preview. We don't have that much time left, maybe about 2 minutes left. The Pistons preview the New Orleans Pelicans matchup with the Detroit Pistons Monday night. That'll be in Detroit. Of course, we know about the Blake Griffin trade that the Detroits have decided to become the Detroit Pelicans, pretty much, as they've given Andrew Drummond a complimentary big next to him, similar to Anthony Davis. Like you got Blake Griffin and Andrew Drummond, like we got our guy AD and DC. So they are doing it, and they're looking pretty good. 27-27 as we foul down in this matchup. DC, to you quickly, who gets this win on Monday night between Detroit and the Pelicans?
I would love to say the Pelicans, but I would just be being foolish. I think the Detroit Pistons definitely win this game with the wave we're on right now, man. We're so up and down and all over the place, and they've been completely on fire since they got Blake Griffin. So I don't really see us going in their home and defeating.
I'm not going to go into a lengthy discussion about it. I just going to agree with you. I think that the Pelicans expounds out a lot, and it's just to be the bottom team, or not even a Midland, but a Pitland team as the Brooklyn Nets in double overtime. There's no way in the world they're going to go into Detroit and take on a high-power team on looking pretty good. So
tandem to slow down AD.
That's right. So, but that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us for today's Pelican Post Game Report from DC and myself. We'd like to say peace. And also join our social media family and donate on patreon.com/the PRO Media Network. Thank you. Peace.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
What's up, world? This is DC from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Have you ever been sitting in front of your computer screen, or in traffic, tired, lacking energy, feeling drained? Did you know there are electromagnetic fields or EMF waves all around you that cause this disease? Get it? Dis-ease? Luckily here at Posh Lifestyle, you can get your EMF protection. They have pendants, the shell-dyed bricks, cubes, and pyramids. Check out the PoshLifestyle.com. That's life spelled with a Y. PoshLifestyle.com for all your health needs. So get your mind and body right with a Posh Lifestyle.
Clear, clean, great-tasting filtered water. We're all thirsty for it. But in the U.S. alone, an estimated 2.5 million plastic bottles are added to the environment each year in search of the perfect drink of water. There has to be a better solution, and there is. Crystal Quest, a leader in the manufacturing of water filtration technology, has been providing clean, drinkable water for 20 years. With a deep commitment to providing the highest quality products and excellent customer service, Crystal Quest has been recognized by such leaders as Consumers Digest, Dr. Oz, and Colin Ingram's The Water Drinking Book. Providing cost-effective, reliable water filtration systems for residential, commercial, and industrial customers worldwide. Offering our customers the cleanest and most environmental-friendly drinking water at a rating of high purity. With Crystal Quest's water filtration technology, you can rest assured that your water will be crystal clear. Contact our network of authorized distributors and join our thousands of satisfied customers.
Just log into theposhlifestyle.com. Once again, that is theposhlifestyle.com.
You're listening to the Pelicans postgame report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.